You are watching Gouche Live, Aussie style. My good friends Sam Trapolino and Aaron Kuzak are not available tonight, but I'll tell you what, I got a very, very interesting guest, very successful hockey guy, who will tell us a little bit about the trip from Canada to Australia, playing hockey there. Then he's a goaltender, the development of goaltending in Australia, which, as we know, in any country, goaltending is a key. And we'll talk to him about how he's helped develop it and what's going to go on in the future. Then finally about facilities. But before I get there, I just want to say what a great show yesterday with Franz Reindl talking about the German team losing 2-1 to Russia. Unbelievable game. Tim Stützle, incredible. He is going to be a stud in the National Hockey League. Ottawa Senators, you have got a beauty. And then, of course, that game between Sweden and Finland. My goodness, entertainment pure. Sorry for all my Swedish friends. Sammy Monterey, you're going to be excited about the Finnish team. Of course, they're going to go up against the United States of America. And tomorrow, Russia versus Canada. We'll have a whole special all on that, as it will be Mental Health Mondays. And I'll tell you what, it's going to take a lot for everybody to be ready for such a great game. Again, I don't know how many times Canada's faced Russia in all type of international events. We will have that tomorrow with you, because I will be bringing on Liam McGuire, the expert of experts, anything hockey and anything international. Tell you what, Bruce is coming up just right now. Here he is, Bruce Poling. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Gooch. Good to be on.
Hey, finally got your name right.
Yeah, after 7 years.
Has it been that long? You know what? One of the things is that's ridiculous. I'm really bad at names. I've been actually reading a book.
Yeah, me too.
Or it's more of an online book where I'm really bad. Don't give me a Russian name. And then what happens is, because you and I are both the same, we've done these type of things thousands of times. And the one thing that people get a little annoyed with is their names. So I used to always be called Goulette. So I never really took it that hard, but people do, and it's understandable. So I try my best. And what happens is you overthink it. So I guess I need phonics, and I'm sure you know about that if you write it out a couple of times and you actually, as you did for me, write it out, it was unbelievable. Poling. So P-O-L-E-ing. So I did it differently. I put P-O-L-I-N-G, ling. So I can't screw it up now.
Yeah, perfect.
Hey, talk to us a little bit about that yourself. You're very good on the internet. You're obviously a marketing guru. Tell us, do you have problems with names? I think I should have a show on that, because Paul Rosen and I butcher them.
Yeah, I do this. I do the same thing. So I tend to stick with first names. If you haven't got it right for a while, and then you get it right, like you have with my name, then when you come on, you can't remember the right way and the wrong way, right? So it's pretty common, right? So
that just happened to me.
I know.
That Bruce had I'm thinking, okay, which one is it?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty common. But
okay, well, thank you for entertaining me on that one. Thanks for make my excuse sound better. Hey, listen, Robert Wine, thank you for joining us this morning early. Ron Hughes, all the way in Brisbane. Robert Wine's already got his coffee. You do not know Robert Wine, but I will send you a story about him. It's called the Canada 5, an incredible story. Hit by a bike and had to learn his left foot was not his right foot. Incredible story. He's on every morning, 5:30 in the morning here in Ottawa. He's got his Timmy. Robert, this is not coffee. Let me just say it that way. So thank you for joining us. This gentleman, all the way from Tasmania. First coffee, then hockey. Great idea. And, of course, Michael Tucker. Hey, listen, Michael Tucker, your buddy Sammy was supposed to be here. He wanted to talk to Bruce about goaltending. That's a big deal for him. He wants to kind of understand the game. And then, of course, he wanted to talk about all these facilities, the great work that's being done in Adelaide, and, of course, now at Oakley. And you know what? He's sleeping because he drove 9 hours from Melbourne to back to Adelaide. So we'll leave him alone. All right, Rod. Why don't you tell us a little bit, Bruce, about your history. I've gone through it. I didn't even realize that you were born in Oakville, and I thought you had this growing up a career in the Toronto region, but that's not the case.
No, but I am a Maple Leafs fan, just quietly.
I see that. Oh my God, you should be really quiet this year.
Yeah. Look, it's you know, when you brought Gretzky down, obviously that was fantastic. But for me, it was Tiger and Darryl that was the highlight of my life, because you know, we grew up playing street hockey. You know, you're either the Toronto Maple Leafs or you're the Montreal Canadiens. So I was either Dryden or Palmetier when I grew up and playing street hockey. So yeah, that was an amazing thing. Look, I one of many Canadians that came down to Australia after let's say a very unimpressive career playing hockey in Canada. You know, so we played junior hockey, and that didn't kind of take us to where we wanted to go. You know, we wanted to all make it to the NHL at some point in our lives, didn't we? And you know, at some point you realize, hey, that's not going to work for us. But I came here in 86, 87 when there was a pretty severe recession in the world, or certainly in Canada and Australia. And really my intention was just to travel around the world. You know, that was all that I really wanted to do. So I came over with a friend of mine. He got accepted to university, went back to Canada. I ended up staying in Australia, and long story short, I ended up in Adelaide, in the rink in Adelaide. And as most Canadians do, you find your way to a rink, and no matter what country you're in, you find the rink. That's Bruce, like,
did you take your equipment with you?
No, I'd played my last junior game the year before and said, okay, well, that's kind of it. Like if it doesn't go anywhere, you kind of say, okay, that's it. I'm going to find what else life is going to do for me. So I had no intentions of playing hockey, but we had looked into it before we came to Australia. We were going to travel and play hockey in Australia, but it just got really hard. Like the communication, no internet, it was a difficult thing to do. So we decided, we'll come down and we'll travel anyway. So yeah, ended up in a rink in Adelaide, met a couple of guys, Ray Von Einem, rest in peace, Ray, gentleman, fantastic guy, invited me to play for the Blackhawks in Adelaide. I get on the phone, Mom, Dad, can you please send my equipment down to Australia? And I got a 4-year visa to stay and play hockey. And
Jesus, good for you.
And so it kind of resurrected my career and had the time of my life for the next 10 years. So
Bruce, can you, sorry to interrupt you, but on the Black guys that you played with, obviously, I know a lot of them. So was Billy Viss there? Was Glenn Fole? I think Craig Campbell, all our great friends.
So back in those days, Billy was the sponsor of the Blackhawks. VIP Lawn Mowing was the sponsor of my team. So I know Billy quite well. He also sponsored quite a few Goodall Cup state teams that I played on. Audie was the Audies and the Philthorpes were just little tykes back then. They were just young kids, right? So I left in '95, and once I sort of saw them turning into these great hockey players, I remembered them still as 12-year-olds, right? So,
yes.
And Glenn was never on my team, but always on the. I think he played on the Tigers when I was there. So the local league was a really fun competitive league to play in, and all the guys that Craig Spooley actually ended up on the Blackhawks the last year I played for the Blackhawks before I left, and that was the 1 year we won our championship. So he takes full credit for that.
He does, no question. Listen, you mentioned Greg Audie, what a sweet player. Ben and Luke, they were also just incredible hockey players. A lot of people didn't know, Australian hockey has a rich history, and we'll talk about that in a second about the Goodall Cup. But so now you're playing in Adelaide. What a beautiful city. The rink, over the years had been beaten up. They've done an incredible job. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to hear anything about it, but JB from Agile, they've just done a great job.
It's really nice.
Yeah. So walk us through now. Now you're leaving Adelaide to go where?
I never left Adelaide. I played in Adelaide in Adelaide in South Australia my whole career in Australia. I never left.
Okay.
So Blackhawks the whole time. I'm a lifelong Blackhawks goalie.
Well, JB is a Blackhawks fan too. Is Justin.
Yeah.
I don't even really know his last name. I always kind of get butchered up there, but let's just call it Justin B. And he calls himself JB. Has done a great job resurrecting that. And so talk to us then about after hockey. Is that so you hung the pads up?
In Canada?
No, in Adelaide. You were
No,
in
I
Adelaide.
played the whole time, right from when I started, right to when I left in '95. So I never ever stopped. Played every season.
So meaning in '95, you actually came back to Canada?
So I left Canada in '86 when I'd quit
Yeah.
playing hockey my last junior, and then ended up in Adelaide, started playing hockey again, and really I haven't stopped playing hockey since then.
Right.
had a few. Yeah.
Yeah. So you returned to Canada in 1995. So
95. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the reasoning you ended your career? You were deciding, listen, I'm going to go back home, or did your visa run out?
No, I'm a citizen. I became a citizen in '91, and
All right.
When I got my citizenship, I was the tallest person in the room, and I'm not that tall, right?
Okay, I know where you're going with that
Yeah.
one. It was JB saying, "LOL." JB, love your passion, kid. That's the one thing I found in Australia when I came down. Obviously, meeting you and a bunch of the guys, the passion is so deep. Like you're a Leafs fan for a reason, because you love punishment,
like
and
suffering.
But no, seriously, the passion for ice hockey in Australia, it's one of those, cult. Let's call it a cult game, because it's like when I went over to Germany, soccer. You go over to Australia, it's rugby, AFL, of course, and then swimming. Talk to us about that. Playing in Adelaide's a beautiful city, obviously wine country. You can go anywhere in that region and have some, the Barossa Valley, McLaren Vale. Tell us about that, the actual living experience in Adelaide, coming from obviously out west in the BC province.
Yeah, look, for me, it was good. I mean, I didn't respond all that great to the pressure in my junior hockey in Canada, and for that reason, I didn't really go on with it. Right, I just didn't perform when I needed to. One of those goalies that probably had potential, but never really showed it in the when you needed to. Coming here to Australia, a lot of Canadians come here, and there's no pressure. Like you're just here to have fun and play, and so it's like that release of pressure, right? You're just playing for fun. That's, I think, for me anyway, that's what I needed. I needed to be able to just love the game again. And, that's what I got when I came to Adelaide was I was put on the team, the A grade on the Blackhawks. There was no backup goalie. So whether we were winning 2-1 or whether we were losing 13-0, I wasn't getting pulled. Like that was it for me. I was playing the whole game. So there was no real pressure. Back then the Blackhawks weren't a winning team. So, for me, it was good. There was no pressure, and I was able to find how to play the game again. And so it was good for me. Just a really enjoyable experience. All the people that I met and got to know. And so was given the opportunity to play in the state team. Back then the Goodall Cup was a state championship. It wasn't teams like it is now. So I was really lucky because I was able to get on those teams and play. And look, they were great teams. We won. I think my name is on that cup 4 times. Funny thing, we talk about names. If you look for my name on that cup, it's on there 4 times. It's spelt wrong 3 times.
Well, not on Gouche Live. I see it right now. It's spelt right.
Yeah.
Oh, you wrote it.
Yeah. Yeah. But Adelaide, South Australia had a really strong hockey, culture back then. So we won a lot of cups. We had a lot of really strong teams, but New South Wales was always our competition, and every year it was a really fun, hard-fought tournament. And I was able to play right up until '95 when I got married, met the love of my life in early 2000 or 9.
Oh my God! Don't get in trouble.
No. 88, 89, Samantha and I met. Anyway, we got married in '95 and moved back to Canada. I had a couple of knee injuries, so I just kind of thought it's probably time to stop, crushing my body like this. So, but yeah, it was, the whole time that I played there, it was great. Met some great people and friends with, all of them today. It's great to come back. We came back here in 2008. I live in Melbourne now, but just the memories of all the people that, back in those days, it was a lot. And being able to come back and play for the Night Owls here, met a whole new group of people. Like you've met them all, right? There's two or 300 people that play hockey just for the love of it. And
unbelievable.
Yeah, just such a great thing.
So for people that, explain it to the Canadian person that doesn't know anything about Australia ice hockey. Again, as I mentioned, that's not one of the sports we think about. Even when we started to talk about the Ice Hockey Classic coming down, you know how difficult it is to build those type of things. I had people saying, ice hockey in Australia? You kidding me? And I had already known there was a league because my good friend Jerry Bro came down to play baseball in I think it was somewhere, I think it was Sydney if I'm not mistaken. And he stayed year round and kept saying, Jerry, what are you doing over there? I said, there's a league here and I'm playing in it. So tell us, the Night Owls, obviously the Marauders, who I get a chance to play with great players like Scott Davidson, Crofty, Corky, all these great names, we all got nicknames. And so those guys are so passionate. Also, obviously, Corky and Scotty are also Canadian and went down there probably for the same reason. Ended up loving it, getting married. Talk to us about that after career. That is a huge, exciting league, and they hold these tournaments that are second to none.
It's hard to explain because once you get mixed up with these guys, it's like an addiction, right? You can't stop. The Night Owls in particular are just such a great group of guys to be part of. And you're right. I mean, a lot of expat Canadians, but people from all over the world too. Like it's people from everywhere. But the Night Owls have been going for so long now that it's got such an interesting history to be a part of. There's guys that are in this club that have roots back to the Olympic team that played for Australia back in 41 or some I'm not sure the years, but it's just amazing even to hear the history of some of the stuff. And most Canadians don't know, like the Goodall Cup, the date on it is 1909, and it's it's been around for quite a while. I think it's the 5th oldest senior cup in the world, and
it's actually the third. I've got it right in front of me. Actually, I pulled it up. I wanted to go there. It's the 3rd oldest cup in the world. The first original picture of the cup was in 1913, and there's a little bit of questions of it was earlier or later. But it's the donation of the Goodall Cup was in 1911 where it started. It used to be, as you said, just for interstate, and then now, of course, it's gone into the AHL, which we can continue on talking about it. Continue with the story about the beer league, I guess, if you want to call it, but it's more than a beer league. I play beer league over here. We play for T-shirts. There, the beer league is still very competitive, bragging rights all over the place. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, there's the tournaments that go on every year are amazing. Like Newcastle has an incredible tournament. Adelaide here in Melbourne, of course, this is all pre-COVID when we weren't restricted like we are, but go to Perth and play a tournament. It's just an amazing group of people all over the country that just don't want to hang the skates up. And some of these guys are in their 70s, 80s, and beyond, and still going out there skating around. So it's a lot of fun, and don't stop playing just because you think you can't. Just keep playing, put the skates on, and everybody goes out there just to have fun. I mean, the 35s division is pretty competitive. When I started playing for the Night Owls, I was in the 35s division, and that's pretty serious. So, like, there were some players that came out of the National League into that, and they wanted to win the bloody thing every single game. But for the most part, it's a lot of fun. Guys that have a lot of history from different states that are now on the same team and playing against each other. So beer, yes, absolutely, and whatever else. But it's a lot like the beer leagues in Canada. I played that when I was there after 95 as well, and it's a lot of fun. So I get that question quite a lot from people too. I didn't know there was ice hockey here in Australia, and you can't say that it's huge, but for people that follow it, it's certainly well known, and a pretty amazing following. I would highly recommend. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Bruce. I was off just a little bit. I was trying to pull up some. I should have done this earlier. A little bit of homework. Look at this picture. Like, it's incredible. It's interstate hockey, New South Wales against Victoria. And what's really cool about that V is I see it on this young goalie's jersey while you're over there. That's actually the Vancouver Canucks old jersey. And look at the V here for Victoria. It's the first Goodall Cup. That is absolutely incredible. I've had Jason Sandwang. Yep, sorry.
I think that was that say 1909 on that?
It said 1909. You're right, 100%. We don't see a cup there, but I just was trying to find another picture while I was off. I will find one more that I found very interesting. Jason Sandwin, who's I've had on many times. When I was over there, I wanted to try and get him on today so we could talk a little bit about the history of the game. He's incredible. Like, this guy's a walking encyclopedia about the Australian game, about, you know, how it came with a lot of aircraft carriers that come over, and the boys would bring their gear and they played. And so I really look forward to doing that. But continue on with Victoria. There's a rich history, and you had the ability to play there. Then once you got out of that, you got to Melbourne and you started playing for the Melbourne Night Owls. What have you seen from then to now then? Obviously not in 1909, but what you see from your playing days and now where we are today, taking out, of course, COVID. I feel terrible for David Turek taking over the league after 21 years and getting hit with this. But you know what? It'll resurrect itself. I think it's a good time for planning. So I'd love to hear your historical look at how it's all come together now.
It's really interesting. You know, I wish I knew as much history as Jason does. Certainly, hockey has had highs and lows in this country. You know, there's been years when there's been mini rinks here in Melbourne, and of course, to play hockey, you've got to have a rink. So when a lot of these rinks close down, the whole sport kind of dies out. So you know, back in the 70s and the 80s here in Melbourne in particular, there was quite a few rinks. So there was a fairly large population of teams. Not too far from where I live here, there was a rink in Ringwood. In fact, I played my last Goodall Cup in '95 there in Ringwood. And so the one thing that's different about Australia compared to Canada, it's kind of like the footy culture, is that they like to have, like, if you play footy, you've got your own pitch, like your own place. So they like to have their own rinks. You know, it's kind of the way that the sporting culture is here. So there was always these rinks that had their own clubs. That was their home rink. But when the rinks close down, it makes it really hard for the sport to grow. So there's always this roller coaster. But I came back when we came back here in 2008, that was prior to the Docklands rink being built. So the national team or the National League was being played in Oakley, you know, some of those games. And you know, at that stage, the rink doesn't look like it does now. So it's just so critical that the rinks and the facilities themselves are up to the standard. Otherwise, the sport just simply won't grow. And it's really, really nice to see, like right now, there's some amazing rinks. Like if you go to Perth, there's a couple of rinks that are just amazing. Obviously here in Melbourne, there's Docklands. Adelaide's getting a nice rink, you know, so that's the big thing now is when you get the facilities, the sport will grow. And it was nice to see when Docklands went in, some of the higher ups that built it said, we probably should have made it a 5,000 seat facility because we think we could have filled it. You know, they were selling out every single game and turning people away. So it just proved that the appetite is there for the sport, and the facilities were never quite large enough to fill it. So it's been like that over the years for sure. The facilities have kind of dictated the sport's growth, I think.
Yeah. So we're going to get into a little bit deeper into the facilities, because obviously if you want to build the sport, the first thing is you got to get people skating, because you can't play ice hockey without skating. And so the more facilities, obviously, the better off of the chances. Because here in Canada, as you know, you can attest to it, you know, in where I live, I'm 1 minute from a rink that just built another rink. It's just being finished, another ice pad. And I can go from my house and have 10 rinks that have got 2 or more ice surfaces. So it's just like in Australia, there's a cricket field, there's a rugby field, and you know, obviously the cost of playing the game are far cheaper. We'll talk about facilities in a second, but JB, the Agile group, look at this. pulls this one out of his hat, and I notice Bruce Poling with 2 L's.
2 L's. There you go.
Yeah, and you're the goaltender there. What a fine-looking group! Look at those goal pads. Are they in the Hall of Fame?
I've got a pair just like them in the shed, just for historical reasons.
Just thinking about that, I think the jerseys should be in the Hall of Fame. Listen, John Botterill, you did play with Glenn. Glenn Fole is on this squad. Craig Campbell, Chris Ruak. Oh my God, some great names. Yeah, Jared Scott, who I got to meet this year at the Adelaide when I came over for the bushfire. What an incredible event. Very well done. Obviously, Australia's been through the ringer this year, not only with the fires and, of course, now with COVID. And here's another one. JB pulling them out.
That was Ringwood, 95. That was the last Goodall Cup that I played in. It was amazing. Mitch Brindamore, that is Rod Brindamore's brother, played on the team.
I was going to ask you that.
Yep. And most of the usual suspects.
Kevin Brown, I see that our friend Glenn Full was a coach. Was he a player coach, or was he?
He was led the team to victory, let's say.
Of course, he'd tell you that. I don't see. No, he's a great guy. I love him. Yeah, I don't see Foley. I do not see our friend Campbell. I'll tell you a quick story on the Campbell. You know, he's a great guy, really passionate, well-spoken, but very emotional. And we go back to play this bushfire. It's just a fun game. There's no fun in game with Spooley. He was just passionate, yelling and screaming, and we just had a blast. And it was an honor to be a part of that whole thing. There's a couple of comments here. Australian love all sport. The more physical, the better. Hockey is certainly growing rapidly. Here's a good one from Anthony Grizzly Moldenhauer, misspelled just like my dad's name on the cup in 1985. I think we should maybe get these guys a dictionary. He's saying it's the 5th oldest cup. I know it's the 5th oldest cup, but it is the 3rd oldest cup that is still being played for, which is incredible. Again, I've heard it was the 2nd oldest. There's always these mysteries. And here's our buddy JV saying Google's the best. And finally, this is kind of funny, an Oakville guy talking to a Torontonian about hockey where he lives in Australia. How cool is that? All right, let's move into the goaltending situation in Australia. As you know, I've been coming down for 8 years. This would have been our 9th in 2022, 2021. Would be our 10th year anniversary of the Ice Hockey Classic. You've been a big part of it. We'll show some pictures and talk about that in a second. But what I noticed was goaltending. The goaltending was, at the time when we first started, and I went to see some of the games, was average. I don't mean that in any disrespect. But what I also noticed, once it started to pick up in the AIHL, which is the Australian Ice Hockey League, they had a lot of imports. And a lot of the young goaltenders weren't getting the chance to play at that higher level. Talk to me about that, how the changes from when you got there, and now obviously you were an import goalie, how that's changed, and is it changing rapidly enough? Because when Australia would go to the World Championships, you have to have goaltending.
Yeah, look, there's a balancing act that has to be made here, because you can understand the teams in the league that are now a commercial entity, right? They have to win, they have to get sponsorship to be viable and to exist, and you have to understand their want to win, and so goalies here in Australia have to earn the spot. They have to be good enough to earn that spot. They can't just be given the spot just because they're an Aussie. I don't think that works at all. But over the years, it's been too far the other way. Whereas the local goalies weren't even given a look in, because the only thing that would happen was the teams here would just look for overseas import goalies and then put them in the spot. And what that did as a goalie is it just destroys your confidence. And there are some goalies in this country, Aussie goalies, that have grown up in this sport that are amazing goalies that are as good as any Canadian import coming in. But they just, up until recently, they just didn't believe they were, because they were never really given the chance. So this, when I came back in 2008, got back immersed in the hockey scene and started seeing this. And it really bothered me because obviously having some history in this country with this sport probably had a part to play in that, like I'm an import goalie and it really bothered me. So I really wanted to do something about this. So in 2011, 2012, I started, coaching goalies to try and have that younger, 7, 8 or 9-year-old goalie by the time he's 17 or 18, actually earning the spot in the National League, but also trying to help some of the goalies that were on the bench on these teams. And it's a balancing act between the coaches on those clubs being willing to allow a goalie to grow, and give them the chance and nurture them, and having the patience for them to do that. So it's really good to see now we've got a larger number of Aussie goalies playing, but it's still an issue. It's still an issue with everyone. I had a lot to do in the women's hockey league as well. I was a coach for the Melbourne Ice team for 3 or 4 years as the goalie coach, and it was the same thing in that league that bothered me too, where we were bringing in import goalies, and then the Aussie goalies weren't getting a chance. So I think it's something that as a league, the league has to look at it. The clubs have to get together and figure out how they're going to deal with it. But I think the governing body here, IHA, has a part to play here too in developing and nurturing players, just like they do with forwards and defensemen. It's a matter of growing your goaltending community so that they become amazing goalies. And here in Australia, we've got amazing international competitions too. So we want to get goalies, to be the best player on the ice. And I think that Australia goes a long way to do that. We've got some now. When I started point blank goalie in 2012, there was no one in the country coaching goalies, really having any input in doing that. So I got swamped. Like I just got completely.
I remember that.
Swamped. And you can see, I remember one time at the Oakley rink, I ran a goalie clinic for the weekend. And I remember Joey Hughes saying to me, I don't know the hell you're going to get any goalies. Well, we had 23 goalies on the ice, and I probably could have had 40. And I remember seeing Joey's face when he walked in. So I don't know where are all these goalies coming from, but they're there. They just want to be nurtured and taught. And, it's like anything, even in Canada, right? You've got the base there. You just have to provide the coaching for them to grow. And so it's really good to see, like back when I did that in 2011 and 12, there was really no one doing it. But now there's goalie programs all over the country that are doing amazing things. And IHA is now very connected to a lot of that as well. So it's really nice to see that it's, they take the position seriously.
Yeah, well, I'll be a part of their development here in Canada. I'll be talking about concussion safety in sport starting next week under 13, and then the following week under 18. Ryan O'Hanley has done a great job pulling that all together. I'm really excited about being a part of that. I want to talk to you a little bit about the facilities. You brought it up. Obviously, in Melbourne, you have HIQ. I think it's Ross Fisher has built an incredible facility there. We've already talked about, obviously, the O'Brien, the 2 pads. I agree with you 100%. We ran the Ice Hockey Classic there. We could have sold 4,000 tickets, and we would have definitely made a landmark opportunity there. You need to have a facility, build them and they will come. It's almost like the old adage, Field of Dreams. I truly believe if you have rinks in your major cities that are 2,500 to 4,000, that sport ice hockey would prosper. But when you're going into facilities that are, of course, Canberra, you've been there, you've seen that. Obviously, there's no rink right now that plays in the AIHL in Brisbane, though people have certainly tried to set that up.
Yep.
I think it's important that we try and get the opportunity to build more and more rinks. Jonathan Cornford, of course, from AIS, Australian Ice Hockey Sports, he's ready to build a rink in Melbourne. JB with the Agile Group, of course, with the great Ice Factor, Sammy Monterey, who you know very well, all those guys putting their talents together. Stan Scott up in Perth, you mentioned their rink. You need more. Obviously, in Sydney, we know that they've had, with Macquarie, there's been back and forth. Now, supposedly, there's going to be a new rink built there. you need facilities. Talk to me about that, because when you were in Adelaide, if I'm not mistaken, there were more than one rink there at the time when you were there.
At the time, I got there in 86, 87, and that time there was one rink. That was it. And we were lucky. We were lucky to have that rink. And so
did it have the
the first year I was there, it had the outside track, and then they decided to build a ski slope on the rink. I was actually part of the construction crew of that ski slope. But no, at that time there was one rink in Adelaide, and that was it. And that's why I say I was really fortunate to be part of that era, because one rink and just a group of amazing guys all in one place.
Yeah. So you also have Oakley, which has renovated itself. They've done a great job over there. I know Jason has spent hours and hours with Terry and the boys. I know Jonathan has done a great job helping them too. What does it mean when you get, now you'll have, hopefully everything comes together for them. You're going to have Oakley with 2 rinks. One is specific ice hockey. The other one is more public skating and, of course, figure skating. You've got now in Adelaide, I'm going to stay in Melbourne for a second. You've got Oakley, which will be revamped. It's going to look phenomenal. Ross has got a great rink. Jonathan Cornford's looking at Packingham. You're going to have 4 quality rinks, let's say, in the next couple of years. What does that mean to the sport? Is that, 4 in one city? You don't have that in Sydney. You don't have that in Adelaide. Though Adelaide, JB has been very aggressive. They're going to add a 3rd ice surface in that rink in Adelaide, which is so important. Stan Scott's only got, I think there's another rink in Perth. But Stan plays out of the one that can actually house him properly. So talk to me about that, of how the growth of facilities, will it help the growth of the game?
Yeah, I think it already has. Like, we talk about what we actually have. We've got 3 rinks. Ice HQ, like you say, Docklands and Oakley now is now back to let's say a good surface to play on again. So we've got 3 really good quality rinks, and I think it already has. It's brought players back. It's brought people back to the sport. That was always the restriction, right? Is when can you get ice time? For my goalie clinic, we couldn't grow because we couldn't get ice times available. So all aspects of it, whether you want to do speed skating, whether not only just hockey, but all the little components of it. If you want to run a coaching clinic or a refereeing clinic or anything like that, now all of a sudden you've got available time slots at any given rink. So we've, the 4th rink is just going to add more and more and more. People will talk to me about the days that Ringwood was there and these other rinks. And then when they closed, they just sort of went away from the sport. And so, that when the rink is back, they're going to come back again. And I think, it's already happened. So it's just good to see. I mean, that's always been the benefit that Sydney had. I think Sydney, and I can't name them, but I think Sydney's got 4 rinks. So they've always had that benefit of having, more rinks in a smaller area of space, right? So that's where, the core player group always came from. It was always from Sydney and New South Wales.
Well, we got a guy, Logan Russell, who's in Sydney doing a great job, an American. We won't hold that against him, but he's doing a great job with beer. They call it beginnings, where guys are coming at the age of 30, fall in love with the game, and still wanting to learn the game, which is incredible. I wanted to go away from facilities, and before we get into the Ice Hockey Classic, I wanted to show a couple more pictures. I found this one. This is the original game, they say, in June 17th, 1906. It didn't have a description who the 2 teams were, but what an incredible shot. And I look forward to having Jason on to kind of explain it. And then I'm going to move to this one. He knows every player. Here's a great shot of the good old cup. Paul Bisonet, Spitting Chicklets, was out and had an opportunity to watch a game, and they did a big, huge story on it. And of course, they had to have some Pink Whitney. Ice hockey has had a tremendous history in Australia. It's now getting more play over here. Paul Bisonet doing spitting chicklets over there. And then, of course, the Nathan Walker factor. I wanted to ask you about that. What does that mean? Obviously, he won a Stanley Cup with Washington. He's now with the, the St. Louis, who had won a Stanley Cup. Obviously, a shortened season. He's now there. He's in training camp. What does that mean to have an Australian, though he's not born in Australia, he developed his skills and then left the country and now has made it to the highest league. What has that meant for young boys and girls?
Well, Gouche, I mean, you play professional sports, right? If you didn't actually believe that you could do it, you wouldn't do it. You know, most athletes, their belief in themselves exceeds their skill level, and that's why they get to where they want to be. And that's the thing that's missing from countries like Australia, that where we have a minor sport in hockey here. It's the belief that you can actually achieve great things in your chosen sport. And once you get someone like Nathan Walker showing that, you know what, if you just work hard, if you just keep doing it, if you just want it bad enough, you can do it. Once you have a player like that, that shows that you can, go from hockey here in Australia and follow a path, and you can actually, win a Stanley Cup, then players here, whether it's a goalie, a defenseman, a forward, it doesn't matter what position you play, you now start believing that you can do it. And that's the difference for the sport widely. It's having that one or two players that crack the best, that everybody else can look at it and say, you know what, instead of quitting hockey at 18 and going and playing cricket or footy or whatever I want to do, because there's no way forward for me in this sport, in this country. Nathan Walker's, playing in the NHL. Well, I can do that. And he's not a big guy. He's not a highly talented guy. It's his belief in himself that got him there. And that's what's so special about Nathan Walker, is that he's not a naturally gifted, 6'4" kid that can just do no wrong. Like, he's had to work and scratch and claw for every single thing he's been given. And he doesn't take anything for granted. And he is just an amazing person and never gives up and just keeps going. And that's the best thing about Nathan, is that nothing's been given to him. He's had to work for it, and he works for it every day, and he never quits. And he's the best role model you could ever have.
No, and down to earth. The kid is just a dream to be around. And big exciting news is we have honored him with the fact that the Ice Hockey Classic will be coming back. You've been a part of that. We'll talk about it in a second. We are now calling the cup the Walker Cup in honor of what he's done. So nice. Ice Hockey Classic will Canada, US. Hopefully we expand that in the future. Maybe we'll get a Russian team and really make this something big in the future. But going forward, it will be called the Walker Cup. Listen, great comment coming from Anthony. If I'm not mistaken, Anthony, I apologize. Moldenhauer, look, I got that. I played for the Grizzlies in Eschweiler in Germany, so it's easy for me to remember that name. Some of the rinks: Penrith Ice Palace, Macquarie Ice Rink, Canterbury Ice Rink, Liverpool Catholic Club, and the ISU. ISU is where Logan does a great job with Peter Lynch, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I don't say that name wrong. And a few hours north, Hunter Ice Skating Stadium. And we forgot to mention our good buddy Gary Dory, obviously in Newcastle, which is
fantastic. Yeah, good.
Yeah, that incredible. He's a great, passionate hockey guy. Let's move now to, and I think, Anthony, if I'm not mistaken, you are, I think he's from Hobart, and they just recently sold that rink. There was a rink, and we have, sorry, it was up for sale. I shouldn't have said it's sold. That I don't know. That's going to be a tough sale. But I've wanted to be, that's my bucket list. I want to go to Hobart. I want to be in Tasmania. And what better than bring an ice hockey game to Hobart? That's on our bucket list. And I know, Bruce, you'll be a big part of helping me get that done. Love it. The Walker Cup, got the name right too. Yeah. And I'm gonna spell it right, because isn't it Johnny Walker?
We'll leave that up to Tony. Hey, Gouche, we'll get Tony to do the spelling.
You got it. Hey, listen, let's do this. Let's reminisce a little bit. Obviously, you're a goalie coach. Obviously, you've played at a high level. Obviously, you met some of your idols. Tiger Williams, if you don't know who he is, Tiger Dave Tiger Williams. Just click that into your Google machine and you'll see it. Dave Daryl Sittler. I want to say before we go into showing some other great ship photos and you included in it, I want to say that do Australians really, I'm not blowing my own horn here, please don't take it in any way, but do the Australians really know how great this is? Like Tiger Williams doesn't fly around the world other than Afghanistan to play hockey. Daryl Sittler, other than when he was playing, doesn't jump on a flight. I had to prod them to come, but when they got there, they absolutely loved it. And of course, the big one with Wayne Gretzky, Brent Burns, and a pile more. Did you get the relevance of that? I hope. I know.
Oh, who would have ever thought that an ex junior B hockey player is going to be playing on the same rink with Tiger Williams and Daryl Sittler 40, 35 years later, whatever it is. It's who would have ever thought that? Or some of the guys, I didn't get to go on the ice with Gretzky, but all the guys that did, who had thought you get that opportunity moving to Australia? Like, it's crazy. But the Aussies that attend these games, Gooch, the people that I talk to get it, and they know because they do the research. The great thing about hockey is that it's not like football or cricket or any of those sorts of sports where you really have to know. You just sit down and watch it, and it's just an entertaining thing to watch. You don't even have to know the rules. It's just entertaining, and that's what Aussies love. And they love the contact sports. They love the fights, that sort of thing. It's the perfect sport for Australians because it's got everything that they love. It's got speed. It's got it's got a little bit of biffo. It's got all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think the Aussies get it and they love it. That's why you sold out the stadiums all those years.
Well, you were in one of the games backing up Ben Scrivens, another phenomenal goaltender. Obviously, Garrett Sparks left there, made it to Toronto Maple Leafs to your the team that you support. You were in front of 15,000 fans. Here you are. Look at this. Just an incredible opportunity. And I think one of the things, I don't want to make excuses because, it's a difficult thing to do, bringing down the players. We hear, we need more NHL players. We need more fighting. Obviously, it's in support of stop concussions and safe for sports. So it's pretty tough. I know, and if I brought down 30 Zen and Kanopkas to play Canada versus US, and it turned out to a WWE fest, I could ask any amount of money for a ticket, and I would sell out 20 to 30,000 tickets. We both know that. The unfortunate part is that our game is going away from that, and as we see the struggles with what's going on in AFL and cricket with concussions and all the issues that are coming on with injuries, we as a society have to realize we have to be responsible to the people. So if we did that, it would take away from, we'd have Goon and Slapshot, which we were very honored to have Dave Hansen and obviously your favorite goaltender, Denny Lemieux from the movie Slapshot. We couldn't sell. We couldn't feel comfortable selling the game like that because the game has become McDavid's, the speed, the talent, what they can do. Obviously, Germany, you mentioned about Nathan leaving the country and developing this almost cult following now for people that want to play in the NHL. Look at what's gone on here in this country. In Canada, we made a big trade. I don't know if you heard it, but the trade was we gave Bayern Munich Alphonso Davies, and we took back Leon Draisaitl, who is the MVP of not only the Edmonton Oilers but the National Hockey League, who won Sportsman of the Year for Germany in a sport that's not their number one sport. And in Canada, Alphonso Davies became the Sportsman of the Year in Canada for playing a sport of soccer. So it's really meant a lot of the change. So things like this Ice Hockey Classic, what does it mean to you as a person? Obviously, there you are with a bunch of guys that have played. We call it the Hockey Hall of Fame game. I see Stéphane Muto. I don't recall all the players. I think John Scott was at one of these. There you are. We've got myself dropping the puck with Daniel Lemieux, Yvon Barrette, Tiger Williams, and Daryl Sittler. I unfortunately had broken my ribs earlier and was unable to play. But how cool was that to be on a rink that was made by you? All these guys helped out. You had a goalie camp there. talk to us about that.
Well, look, Gouche, when we first met, I'm drawn to people with passion, and your passion for helping the world cure concussions is it draws you in, and that's what brought me in, because you weren't there just to sell tickets. You were there for a reason, and it gave me a platform for me to serve my purpose too, which was to help grow goaltenders in this country. And so we had a really natural connection, because you allowed me to take your professional goalies, and they were gracious enough to give their time to the kids, the young women. Like when we had Ben Scrivens here with his wife, Jenny, you'll recall there's a young lady that came from Sydney who had followed Jenny Scrivens her whole life. And Jenny Scrivens was like a god or a goddess, I guess. I'm sorry, I can't remember the lady's name, but if you remember, she was on the ice, and we had sort of after that goaltending clinic when Jenny and Ben were on the ice, and she was in tears because it meant that much to her to meet Jenny Scrivens. Yeah. And the whole experience about getting young goalies on the ice to skate and learn from these professionals, you can't put a price on that. And that's what the confidence what we need from players here. And I just can't be I can't possibly thank you enough for giving me those opportunities over all these years. Started out with Garrett Sparks. Garrett, we had that amazing clinic, and I was actually fortunate to be on the ice because Garrett left the ice with cramps, and I played, I think, 53 seconds.
That's right.
And Brett Burns was on the other team, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I sure hope he doesn't get down to my end and shoot the puck at me, because he's going to kill me. But it all started with Garrett Sparks, and allowing us to start having these goaltending camps connected with your professionals that come in. And they have been, every single one of them, from Garrett to Ben Scrivens to Jenny Scrivens to Darling to
Scott Darling, yeah.
Scott Darling, to all the professional goalies that you brought down. There hasn't been an air of I'm too good for that. They're giving their time. And sometimes we had to pull them away from the kids and say, you got to start preparing. You got a game to play.
You're right. And yeah.
So thank you. For me, that's what this was all about. It wasn't about sitting in front of 15,000 people, although that was kind of cool. What it was about was giving these kids the opportunity to learn and grow from these amazing professionals. And kudos to you, because you run an event that you didn't have to do any of that. Like, you had enough going on without having to add that to your plate. But to your credit, Gouche, you allowed that to happen. And it's amazing.
Well, thank Bruce, but thank God I have Tony, because she had to do the organizing. The one thing you got, I'm man enough to look up. I had a great hockey career. I love it. I love giving back. As you know, a lot of hockey players like yourself do that. As that what you've heard from the NHL guys that have come over there. Scott Darling, incredible story when you obviously a little bit about it. John Scott. When Brent Burns, and let's not call Brent Burns the hockey player, but Brent Burns the actor. I don't know if you've known it, but he's in 2 episodes of Vikings.
Oh, is he? Well, that would make sense. Yes. Yeah, that would work.
Unbelievable. It worked perfectly. When I saw it, I had to do a double take. There's no way that's Brent Burns. Oh, yes, it is. And so I think what's really important to understand is that hockey players have always been like that. So thank you for those kind words. But I saw an opportunity. We did the Ice Hockey Classic first when it all got started. Bruce, you're a marketing guy. I wanted to come when we got asked to come down there. I said, okay, there has to be a purpose. I'm not going to be able to bring the Crosbys, the Ovechkins, the type of players that would sell an arena right away. I needed to have another purpose. And that's where we came up with helping sport, obviously doing what you do. And we're going to do more of this. It's not over. COVID has just put a pause on it. We will be coming back. We're planning on September 2021 for a promotional tour. We won't have all the big names. We'll be playing we're going to take the game to the people. We're going to play in the smaller facilities, but we're going to make sure it's that action-packed, tailgate, all the things that go on around the hockey game. These kids will still be talented. And then set it up for 2022, I will do, you heard it here, I will do an outdoor game back in Queenstown, New Zealand, in 2022, even if it's in the parking lot at the airport. And I will do an outdoor game in Australia. You've got my word. I know I'm going to need some of your help, but we're going to do that together. But the point that I'm making is it's not just about the game. It's what we can give back. When this is all done, I know it's not done. People still are writing us nonstop. When are you coming back? We will be back. And what it's about is it's not about the game. It's about the ability of showing the family and being able to. One of the comments I got back from a lot of people, just like yourself, is the openness of these players. We went to hospitals. If I asked them at 5 o'clock in the morning, we're flying from Perth, for example. Dave Tiger Williams jumped on a flight, flew to Adelaide just for the day to be with the Ice Factor on the ice, and flew right back that night. Dave Tiger Williams.
The thing too, Gouche, is that with players today, like a lot of people would say, oh yeah, Tiger Williams played in the 90s or the 70s, right? So he doesn't have the same airs that the new players today do. But you could get any player now, and they would be the same as him. Like that's what I love about this sport, is that it just doesn't, the best players in the NHL would do exactly what Tiger did.
Well, I don't know if you culture. Yeah. I don't know if you recall being in Melbourne with Brent Burns. We had these VIP tables along the side.
Yeah.
And I think it was in the Hisense Arena. And listen, this again, I want to just say some of the crazy things that I look back now, going through all the stories, and we've had some unbelievable years. We've had a couple of issues, but that's in anything that can happen. But I do recall you made the statement earlier. I had Brent Burns going from table to table, and I had to literally grab Burnsy. That's enough. You got to move to the next table, because he wanted to entertain and talk to the crowd and sign autographs. And I'm yanking at his, not that I didn't want him to stay there, but certainly needed to push him along, because he would stay there and talk forever. Anthony, thank you for that. He's in Northwest Tasmania, and it's the Glenorchy Ice Rink. I remember seeing that in Hobart. So, Anthony, start putting your mind together. We're going to figure out how maybe we could do an outdoor game in Hobart. That would be
let's buy it, Gouche. You and I will buy it, and we'll turn it into an Airbnb/skating rink.
Okay, first, let's get through COVID. Michael Tucker, we can't wait for the return. We will sell out in Adelaide, no question. And the final part here is looking forward to those outdoor games. Anthony, I've given you my word. Now I got to figure out how to pull that all off. I wanted to show you something. You're a goaltender. Look at this. It's going to happen. We were going to honor, as you know, we took the Garner Boomerangs over to Edmonton in January. Thank God, just before COVID. They left 40, plus 40. They ended up in Calgary or in Edmonton at minus 40. They loved it. They thought it was the greatest. So we had at that time had already spoken to the AIHL with David Turek. We were going to make this a year around the Indigenous. Before Black Lives Matter, we had already put the concept together. Look at these incredible jerseys we had already had done up. They were done by an Indigenous artist. There's the Canada jersey. Here's the USA jersey. We were going to honor the Indigenous community here in Canada and obviously back in Australia. And look at what Bauer did. Caden Primo, who you would know the name, son of Keith Primo. He's the up-and-coming successor of our friend Carey Price. Look at those pads with the Indigenous drawings on them.
That's really
Bauer
cool.
was so gracious. We have those, and we'll be auctioning them off after they're used. And hopefully we'll have Caden back, but he may be too busy with the Montreal Canadiens. Hey, listen, in closing, I want to not only thank you. You've been on Gouche Live, featuring Paul Rosen. We will be on later today. We've got incredible shows. We're picking each day now. We've picked a team. We've already done the Philadelphia Flyers. We had Brian Propp, as you know, that great NHLer. We did the Washington Capitals. We had Dennis Maruk, who's actually been over there also coaching Team USA. Today it's about the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And I will send you the date when we do the Toronto Maple Leafs. That'll be around The 11th is roughly when it is. We're going to have some extra special guests. Daryl Sittler will join us. Ron Ellis will join us, and we will be talking everything Leafs. As I let you go, I'll give you final words.
Oh, just, for me, Gooch, it's the opportunity that you've given so many people like me just to sort of elevate the game. We need more of this. We need more people taking this sport seriously, and because the public has an appetite for it, and this is what it takes. So just thanks for bringing the game to Australia and giving us the platform to give it, bring it to the public that would never have seen it otherwise.
Now, I want to do a shout out to your wife, Samantha. She's been extra special in allowing you to spend an hour on a Sunday night, but more importantly, allowing you to be crazy enough to get on the ice and be the backup goaltender for us, as you mentioned, with our friend Brent Burns. I stay at his house the odd time when I go down to St. Louis, to San Jose, and Bruce, he treats me like an older brother, and him punching me in the ribs, I was sore for a month. Like
Yeah.
he's like a teddy bear, but if he would have taken a slap shot. But I want to leave everybody with this. Bruce, you're a passionate guy. You're a business coach. Tell us a little bit about that. I was on your program. Talk quickly about what you do now. I apologize. I forgot about that.
Well, hockey players don't make any money, right? So we've got to do something to earn money. So I'm a business coach. I run a business called The Joinery Coach. I work only with businesses that make kitchen cabinets, joinery, small manufacturers, those sorts of things. And I do everything with passion. And my passion is to help people that run those businesses get the life that they want from their business. I ran a cabinet making business myself for many years. And if you don't do it right, pretty soon, 30, 40 years go by and you've got nothing. So it doesn't have to be like that. You can have an amazing life and an amazing business. You just have to ask for the help and learn the things that you need to learn and have faith in yourself to do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bruce, I can't thank you enough, and I want to leave it with this. A very successful hockey guy. Look at that great picture. Thrives as SA retains ice hockey title. There you are in net. You won the good old cup. The third oldest cup, still being played for in 1987, 1990, 1991, and 1995. You are a legend, and we can't thank you enough for joining us on Gouche Live. And I look forward to working with you in the future to bring ice hockey back to Australia like we have. Don't forget, it's called the Walker Cup, and we're so honored to have Nathan Walker support us. And we will be coming to you this September. And I look forward to seeing you in the nets again as a backup goaltender.
All right. Thanks, Gouche. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. All right. Gouche Live. All the way in Melbourne, Australia. Our buddy Bruce took a time out to tell us a little bit about the history of the game, but just as important, how passionate the ice hockey fans are down under. And we are certainly looking forward to getting back there very soon. Listen, this afternoon we have a great show. I've got Chris Hyde from Germany, who was drafted by the Minnesota Minnesota Wild, but is a true Las Vegas Golden Knights fan. And I've got Scott Jones, the development specialist and skating coach for the Golden Knights, here talking about the season 2021 with the NHL and the Golden Knights, what we can expect from them. Hey, Michael Tucker, great show, guys. Sam sleeping has left only good-looking, intelligent people on the show tonight. Thank you for that compliment. And Anthony, thank you for all of your fantastic support. You're on every show. As a Bruin fan, I'd like to wish Bruce the best of luck for the Leafs this year. I look forward to these Game 7s. Good luck to the Jets this year as well, Kerry. Thanks for the awesome show. Anthony, don't go anywhere. Tuesday, I've got James Murphy Hockey Talk, coming and talking about the Bruins. And what about the Chara? You're going to hear some great stories about Chara leaving Boston. There's an uproar. And I'll tell you what, Washington won that. All right, guys, thank you so much. And I love this one. As a Leafs fan this year, I will be cheering for the Blues. But Bruce, I think you also got to take in consideration the Ottawa Senators. The Ottawa Senators, I know it's not a team that you're going to be excited about, Bruce. watch the Ottawa Senators these next couple of years blossom. All right. Thank you for joining Gouche Live. We will be back today.
Let's play some hockey.